flower fund. I'm going to start it on this side of the room. I'm going to circulate it through. Thank you. Has every member recorded their presence? Has every member recorded their presence, Commissioner Jones? That's my version of Sullivan. Madam Clerk.
20 present, 4 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum. Our first order, I'd like to recognize CEO of Folsom Valley Medical Center and Indian Path Community Hospital, Rebecca Beck. We have a presentation from her. Give her your attention, everyone. Thank you for being here with us.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with you all tonight. I know it's been a while. I think the last time I was here maybe was in January of 23, so a lot has happened in Kingsport and specifically at our 2 hospitals there. I would like to just start by saying that I've passed around an Impacting You it's a front and back one-sheeter, as we call them, that just highlights the services as well as the progress that we are continuing to achieve in healthcare across Kingsport. So I may reference some of the items that are in that as I go along, but I will not be before you very long, as I know that there's a lot of business to accomplish tonight. So tonight I'd like to just focus on a few brief topics that will bring you up to date on where we are since the last time that we met. I'll focus on our current state of operations, which most of you will find on the one-sheeter that's in front of you. I'll talk about some of our ongoing initiatives, the impact of our visioning committee in Kingsport that was developed upon the inception of our merger, as well as the new technology awards and some special upcoming events and occasions that we have in our facilities in Kingsport. So I'll start with just our current state of operations. Across Kingsport facilities at Holston Valley and Indian Path, we have been very successful in hiring new grad RNs, 30 plus for this past graduating class in May, which is a great accomplishment for us, and especially as we're seeing more and more some of those numbers start to decline, and of course the challenges that we've had with contract labor, not just locally but across the United States. I will say that 2 years ago this time in July, we had 164 contract labor nurses at Holston Valley. As of today, we have 22. So we're very pleased and thrilled about those results and being able to maintain and recruit team members into full-time capacity in both of our facilities. We have an average turnover rate of 15% at Holston Valley, and the national turnover rate average is at 22%. Indian Path comes in at 10%. So we're very pleased with that. We have no contract labor nurses in our emergency departments or our critical care units across both facilities. So really, really exciting for us to see those full-time team members that are committed not just to our facilities but to our community. Also want to speak about physician recruitment. As you all know, we've certainly had some challenges as it presents specifically to some of those specialty areas. We've had successful recruitment of 11 physicians across specialty areas to include urology, cardiac, orthopedics, colorectal surgery, bariatrics, gynecology, oncology services, as well as oncology. So we have a full slate of providers for the majority of those services now, with the exception of urology. We still have active recruitment out for that. And we also have active and ongoing recruitment out through a partnership with ETSU for gastroenterology. GI has been our hottest topic of concern as it relates to that service and specialty coverage across Kingsport as well as Bristol. Sullivan County has been hit the hardest with that. That was due to some of the local gastroenterologists making some career changes themselves, as well as retirement due to some unforeseen issues that limited their ability to provide coverage in their outpatient clinics as well as for hospital on call. We do have contracted providers that cover that now for us on a routine basis so that we're transferring fewer patients out of Sullivan County, and we are working to employ full-time providers within the hospital that would cover 24/7 at both Wilson Valley and Bristol Regional. So more to come on that. We do have some candidates in the pipeline, and I did learn in some of the research that we conducted through the recruitment process, GI is one of the top 4 sought-after recruits across the country. And obviously, we're challenged as we are here in our region based on the wage index and some other limiting factors with just the rural demographics that we have. So certainly a challenge we're aware of and one that we're trying to still work through. Also wanted to share with you some updates as it relates to our ER operations. As you'll also recall, about 2 years ago when I came into this role, the largest concern that we had was on behalf of Sullivan County EMS and our offload times of ambulances that would arrive into our ambulance bays at Holston Valley. At that time, we were 40 to 60% of offloads within 20 minutes or less, and we are pleased to say that we are now averaging 90 to 92% on a weekly basis, and going forward, we hope to achieve 100%, but there are those occasionally that fall within that 21 to 30 minutes, and occasionally those that are extending past 30 minutes. But that's been a huge accomplishment for us, and one that we know has been detrimental to the services provided throughout our community. So we are committed to it. Our emergency department is fully staffed, and we're able to accomplish that daily with the resources that we've been able to right size and manage it. Part of that has also been an impact with the way that we're managing our inpatient operations. So we have a patient flow management steering committee that is made up of our executive team as well as physicians across each of our 5 hospitalist services that service Holston Valley that are focused on timely discharge and flow of our patients throughout the facility. So one, at admission, ensuring they're at the right level of care, whether it be med-surg, step-down, or ICU critical care, and also when it is time for that discharge, removing barriers the day before in the planning and resources needed post-discharge for those patients. So that project started in January. We've already seen our hold hours decrease significantly. We've gone from an average of a total per month by about a 50% or more reduction to less than 100 and 130 at most hold hours that we have in our emergency department at Holston Valley. So that's been really a big win for our team. It's a satisfier for our providers, but most importantly, those patients know that when they come into our emergency department, they're going to be able to receive a bed in a timely manner for their treatment to begin. I'd also like to comment on our Patient Experience Council. We formulated one starting in January with an intense focus on communication with our patients. One of the initiatives that we have sought after across our system, and specifically in Kingsport, is our bedside shift reporting. So if you or any of your family members happen to be patients within our facilities, you should expect the nurses on the off-coming and oncoming shifts to participate in a handoff report at your bedside, allowing you and or your family opportunity to engage and ask questions about your care and further treatment plans. And if they're not, I expect you to please let me know. I round on our patients at least 2 to 3 times a week with intense, purposeful rounding to assure that we're completing that. And Press Gamey is the survey tool that we use, unbiased as required by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We've seen a huge improvement in communication, upwards of about 70% for those patients now since we've started bedside shift reporting and the communication they receive from not only their nursing team but also their physicians. So it's been a great win for us and allows us to oftentimes catch things that we might not otherwise in that handoff process when the patient and their family are engaged. So now I'll go into our visioning committee updates. If you'll recall, there were 3 topics of concern for the visioning committee that were determined for Kingsport upon merger, based on the facilities being Wellmont and Mountain States. at time of merger. We recognize the opportunity for collaboration of services and the ability for us to enhance what we're providing across the city. So as you will recall, those three key items were Cardiac Center of Excellence, the relocation and consolidation of the birthing center, and then followed up with our age-friendly health system designation. So I would like to say that we have now completed or are underway with all three of those initiatives. We have achieved the highest level of certification and recognition across the state of Tennessee as an age-friendly health system based at the Indian Path campus. We are also recognized through a grant that we participated in with Institutes for Health that relates to our bronze level status. We hope to achieve gold level and then pursue platinum after that as we continue with our volumes. What that means is for our population ages 65 and over, they have access to a collaborative effort of care amongst different levels of providers, from a geriatrician that is in-house to their own primary care physicians, physical therapy and rehab, speech, pharmacy, as well as other entities that pertain to that adult geriatric population. So we're very pleased with that. It's up and running in our emergency department with some new renovation that will make for age-friendly rooms, and we're expanding that into our inpatient setting at Indian Path as well. Our birthing center has been in a state of renovation at Indian Path for quite some time now, but I'm pleased to share with you that on July 22nd, we intend for that to be ready for opening in full capacity. So we will have completed our phase 2 of renovations by that point. So we will have 19 beds for our laboring and delivering moms at Indian Path that truly are state-of-the-art. And if you've not had a chance to preview that yet with the first phase completion, I would like to invite you to come in and see the full expanded unit, because when you walk through it, you'll have to think about where you are for a minute. Certainly doesn't feel like something that would be here in Tri-Cities, but we're very pleased. The efforts that our team have made in being able to bring that all together has gone very well, and we couldn't be more proud for our mothers to have that experience now in Kingsport. And then lastly, our Cardiac Center of Excellence. You've probably seen on the news some of the new technology that we've introduced in Kingsport. FARAPulse was the latest. That is an ablation method that allows for better preservation of the tissue surrounding the heart for those patients that have electrophysiology issues that will create irregular rhythm for their heart. So we are the first in our region and only 4 hospitals in Tennessee that are performing that procedure now. Our cardiac volume is growing. We have had a resignation submitted for one of our cardiothoracic surgeons. However, we have one that is committed for 25 and a second to hopefully follow in 26, so that our program will remain with 3 to 4 cardiothoracic surgeons at any given time. And then lastly, I'd like to just wrap up by letting you know of some up and coming events to be watching out for. You may have also seen on the news recently about our Center for Early Learning in Kingsport. That will be on the Indian Path campus and will be able to accommodate 80+ children after the first of the year. We hope to have that center open. It is part of our ballot-wide initiative for childcare. There are pretty significant statistics associated with childcare and the issues that we have of being a childcare desert, not just here in our region, but across the state and across the country. So it's one more center that will provide access for children so that their parents can work. It will be based on the hours of operation of a shift at the hospital, so 6:30 a.m. to 7:15 p.m., so that those children can stay and have 3 meals provided, as well as the learning that accompanies that throughout their day. And then most recently, we were recognized by Health Grades at Holston Valley as being a top 74 hospital for vascular surgery. We have 3 vascular surgeons that operate at Holston Valley. That's a very high accolade for us, considering the number of vascular surgeons that are across the country practicing in facilities. So we're very pleased with that. There's new advancements in that technology almost daily, and several clinical trials that those physicians are participating in to continue advancing care, not just in Kingsport, but across our nation. I'd also like to just mention that Holston Valley was recently recognized and ranked as number 9 in the state of Tennessee across all hospitals, which are 160, 70 plus hospitals in the state. So that's certainly a great accomplishment, not only this year, but we were recognized for that last year as well. So 2 years in a row, we've been able to achieve and maintain that ranking across our state. And we were ranked higher than others across our region here in the Tri-Cities. And then lastly, I just received this information yesterday. You all know that we are very proud of our stroke program at Holston Valley, and we've been recognized time and again for the number of patients that we see consistently at the 75th percentile or higher, and we've been on an honor roll for several years now for that status of seeing those patients and scanning them within 45 minutes. Just yesterday we were recognized for the elite honor roll, which puts us in the top quartile of facilities across the country for our stroke recognition and ability to act on those patients as soon as they hit our door. So we're really pleased with those results and proud of our team and all the work and effort that has gone into that. So I'll end with a couple of announcements for you that you may or may not be aware of, but Indian Path is celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. So we're really pleased to bring some attention to that. When we have an open house, we'll be focusing on Indian Path campus to share some of their milestone achievements over the past 50 years. And then next year, we will look forward to Holston Valley celebrating its 90th anniversary. So I think that just goes without saying, the decades of experience, the decades of commitment that both of those facilities have had in Kingsport and Sullivan County to serve our community members and those from outside of our community, and always being available to support their patient care needs. So I will end with that and ask if there are any questions or any other updates you would like me to cover specifically.
Anyone have any questions for Mrs. Beck? Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Means.
Thank you. Do we currently have a level 1 trauma center in Sullivan County?
We do not. Holston Valley and Bristol Regional are both level 3 trauma designated centers.
Okay. Is there a reason why we don't have?
So upon merger and the consolidation efforts of resources, not just in Kingsport, but across our system, there was a great deal of consultation and assessment involved, not just locally with our own providers and system, but also across the state of Tennessee in our trauma program, that indicated the best location for that level 1 being at Johnson City. When you look at the volumes from the past as well as where we currently are still at present, those volumes were still higher in Johnson City as they are today. And as you look at, I can't speak as much to Bristol, but when I look at my Holston Valley data specifically, we're still only transferring out less than 10% of those patients that meet that level 1 criteria threshold, which is a multi-system involved trauma and a higher level of service than what we currently provide.
So if one of our deputies gets shot, say on the interstate, he's got to make it to Johnson City?
No, sir. He can still come to the closest designated trauma center, which would be either Holston Valley or Bristol Regional. And we do have a full team of trauma surgeons that are on call and available 24/7 at both locations.
So you have to call somebody out?
I'm sorry?
You have somebody on call?
We do, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Means.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Thank you all for coming out and giving us the update, but I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind, about the child care facility. Will this be only for Ballad Health employees to use?
No,
Or will it
ma'am.
be for the whole?
It will be offered up to the valid prioritized team members first. However, whatever is remaining will be opened up for our city as well, or the county.
Okay, so how are you all managing the cost? Will the Ballad employees get like a discount, or?
There are some prorated, it is a sliding scale fee that they will be based on income, but there will be available slots for our valid team members that will be at that prorated as well.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
My wife just went through a robotic surgery for a gallbladder. And nobody along the line told her that the migration of the gas with her shoulder would be, that needs to be addressed. It was so intense that first day. We didn't know what was going on. We thought she'd got injured somehow. But then talking and calling people. The open house that you did last fall was very interesting, and to sit down at the robotic machine and be able to see how that operates was quite interesting. Thank you for that. And did I hear you say you're going to do that again?
Yes, we are. It's still undecided if it will be at Holston Valley or Indian Path this year. We might focus on Indian Path based on their renovation schedule because we're renovating the front lobby there as well. So depending on the timeline of when it is completed, the open house may be at Indian Path featuring the services of both campuses at that location.
Whenever that event takes place, I would encourage our commissioners to come and to see. And we got to meet with staff in different areas, so it was very good. I may have missed it, but did you say how many students are enrolled in the Valley High School program?
I do not have the exact number on that. The data I gave reference to were the number of new grad RNs that we hired in May.
Right. So that program, I'm excited about it. I don't know if you can say anything about, because we had at Westridge, the inaugural event to announce it. But that's for high schools, all four in Sullivan County, and how many others in the area?
I only know and can speak to the ones in Sullivan County, so I'm not sure in total what it will end up to be for the other counties that surround.
But this is a valid sponsored CTE program for CNAs and LPNs, that they can graduate high school with that certification. So thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for mentioning the robot. That is one thing that I failed to touch on. We have expanded our robot capacity to have 4 now across our city. And that has certainly been necessary as technology has advanced, as procedures are now becoming more focused with the robotic assistants. We're seeing those volumes now of 130 plus per month. We've also will be adding the ION technology, which is a lung-specific robot that will identify lung tumors and masses at a much earlier stage for patients so that their outcomes will certainly be improved. And I'll take that feedback to our general surgeons too on the gallbladder issue. So I'll make sure they know that.
Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you. Do you have a NICU center?
We do not. We have a nursery at Indian Path, and we have the ability through Nice Children's Network for immediate telemedicine capabilities from the neonatologists at Johnson City to Indian Path.
Is that going to change in the future?
No, ma'am. No, our plan is to remain with the nursery that we have at both Holston Valley and Bristol, or Indian Path and Bristol, the same as it currently is.
And most of the complaints that I hear are related to the emergency services, and I've heard some pretty nightmarish stories. So how are you addressing those? I mean, I think that would calm a lot of people if we knew that those were definitely being addressed. I mean, everything you shared is very positive, but I think it would help if we knew how you're addressing some of these profound negatives that we're hearing.
Absolutely. And I think that's been part of our challenge as we've worked through our patient flow management, is being able to have those patients arrive, be seen, being taken back immediately or as soon as possible to begin that treatment and to keep them from having to stay even overnight in the emergency department before they get to a bed if they're being admitted. So the way in which we're addressing it is we've stabilized our resources in the emergency department with physicians, mid-level providers, as well as the frontline nursing team to ensure we have the adequate ratio of team members to patients based on their volumes and what we're seeing. We have been able to also accommodate some of those needs that are more of a comfort level with our patient liaisons, which are based out of our patient experience department, to assure that through those peak volume hours, if a patient is having to wait, that they have their needs addressed through the comfort of additional blankets, water, whatever it might be. However, our goal is that those patients would not be waiting in our lobby, but rather in a bed. And that's what we've seen, a significant turnaround and improvement throughout the summer, especially since about April, with some of the initiatives we've had on the inpatient side, so that we're freeing the beds up in the back of the ER for patient flow. So we are addressing it. I know that it is a patient-by-patient basis. I know some of the things that we see on social media are only one side of the story, and what it may be portrayed as is different than what is actually occurring. But we take all of those very seriously. We review and investigate every one to determine what we could have done differently based on how it presented, what the opportunity might have been. And I met with our emergency department medical director just this morning to talk through how we would prepare going into our winter months, knowing when we have those influx of patients, especially with respiratory illness, and knowing that COVID is creeping back now in its summer surge. How will we be able to accommodate those patients better without having to wait in our lobby?
Anyone else seek recognition? Ms. Beck, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Have an open invitation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next order, resolution to consider amendments to the Sullivan County zoning plan, sponsored by Commissioner Cowden and myself. Is there any discussion on the zoning resolution before we put it on the board? Without objection, please cast your vote when the board opens. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
19 yes, 20 yes, 4 absent.
Having received the necessary majority, resolution is approved. We'll go into recess for the purpose of public hearing on the zoning amendments. If anyone is here for public comments on the amendments, let's allow Mr. Mead, who's filling in for Mrs. Corbett this evening, his information and answer questions from the commission. Then we'll recognize people from the public. Recognize Mr. Mead on the Amendment 1.
Thank you. You all have the zoning packet on your desk. So case 1 is a rezoning request from B3 back to R1. If you look, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. It's currently zoned B3, and it's being requested to go back to R1, which is consistent with our land use plan. It's on Allison Road in Piney Flats. It will meet residential setbacks for garage and dwellings. Pictures are in your packet that staff took. He's done a lot of work on this property. And sorry, he's done a lot of work on this property to make it residential, and it looks a lot better now, even though it does in the pictures. So.
You've heard the explanation. Any questions for Mr. Mead on Amendment number 1? Commissioner King.
Thank you. Is the owner here tonight, Mr. Hartley?
Mr. Hartley here tonight? No, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, when the business was there is masonry, blocks and bricks. And I'm glad to see this change back to residential because I was continuously picking up bricks out of my field there that I use. And an 8-inch block will not go through a disc vine. I found that out. But anyway, I'm just glad that it was cleaned up and it looks a whole lot better. And that suits the, I think what needs to be there. And instead of a commercial building and business. So with that, I would hope everybody can vote for that. I think it's a good thing for this area, and he has cleaned it up and put shrubs and put some dirt down, and he's just trying to get grass to grow. It does look a whole lot better, so.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Especially with that ingress egress that comes out of there, it could be, if anyone's familiar with that corner, it is quite dangerous getting in and out of there with the amount of traffic that's going through there now. So residential is a good change for it as well.
Anyone else seeking recognition on amendment number 1? Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on amendment number 1. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
20 yes, 4 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, amendment number 1 is adopted without objection. Mr. Meade on amendment number 2.
Thank you. Case number 2 is coming to you from Andrew Shively. It is a rezoning request from B3 to R2A. This property was previously a hairdressing salon, I believe, but it's currently being used as a residential rental property. So the reason that this is 2 parcels is that these will be combined, subject to rezoning, into 1 parcel so that it will meet setbacks so that it can be turned into a duplex. And it is served by public water and sewer. So it's a very fitting use for this corner right here.
You've heard the explanation on amendment number 2. Anyone seek recognition on amendment number 2? Questions, comments on amendment number 2? Seeing none, without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on amendment number 2. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
20 yes, 4 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, amendment number 2 is adopted. Mr. Meade, do you have anything else you wish to share with us for you?
So you all do have a resolution coming before you all tonight on FEMA, and there are a few minor text changes that are being added in there. I shouldn't say changes, they're more additives. They're things that already exist, but it's a federal mandate and they're being added in predominantly definitions.
Thank you, Mr. Meade.
Thank you.
That concludes public hearing on zoning amendments. Without objection, public hearing is closed and we're back on the regular calendar. Next order is public comment. Do we have a sheet? If you didn't get an opportunity to sign the sheet, we'll certainly allow you to address the commission. And this is public comment. It's your opportunity to speak to us. This is a question and answer, but you'll have 3 minutes. And if you will, introduce yourself, give us your name, introduce yourself and your address for our electronic record. I'd like to call up David Ewing. If anyone else would like to address the commission, feel free to raise your hand, let me know, and we'll put you on. Mr. Ewing.
Good evening, thank you. My name is David Ewing, it's spelled E-W-I-N-G. I reside at 209 Park Ridge Court in Kingsport. Y'all probably got a letter from me. I figured it'd be nice so y'all had a face to the name. And so that letter, hopefully, maybe y'all read it. I know everybody's busy. I recognize everybody's got a lot of things on their plate and all. But I just wanted to explain some of the things going on with our league, what's happening. We're a league of 260 young men and women. We're playing ball in 5 different divisions, all the way from T-ball, all the way up to the high school age of 13 through 16, 22 teams. Just before this, we had a meeting with Mayor Venable, and I'd like to thank Mayor Venable and also for bringing together our team, our league, a couple of our board members, and also some of the county commissioners. He brought us folks together to kind of air out some things, get some things down on the table so we can figure out a path forward. We did come to an agreement on how we can start to continue to use a couple of the ball fields at Bernie Webb, coexist with some of the construction, trying to be safe, of course. We're talking about children that sometimes get a little curious around cool machinery. But also using the fields at the middle school. So one of the challenges we have is meeting the short-term needs of fall ball, but also getting into spring where we need to have 4 fields available for us to be able to use those. We did come to an agreement how we're going to be able to schedule those early to make sure we can get a hold of those and put those to work for our young men and women. And we know that we have short-term needs, and we also know that there's going to be bumps and challenges along the way. There's going to be construction over at the middle school. We understand that. We believe we're able to bootstrap together with a solid partnership. And I believe we're starting to move towards that. I think the meeting today helped us get that, that we can work together and understand the schedules. What are the bumps in the road that are going to happen? And we expect this to be a year or two. It's not going to happen overnight. We recognize that. It doesn't, if Rome was built in a few days, right? We believe we provide a positive economic boost to what's going to happen in central Blumpville, which is great. Having folks there spending money. Drive the cottage industry of the small coffee shops, the small boutique shops. That's good for our community. But more importantly, we believe our league provides the community service necessary. We're building the most important natural resource we have, and that's our children. So I'd like, again, thank the mayor, thank the commission, the folks that helped us out today, having some conversation. And like I said, I want to give you all a face to the name and give you a chance to pick my brain. And that's all I've got for today.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Does anyone else wish to address the commission for public comment? Without objection, public comment portion of the agenda is closed. Without objection, next order is a review of regular meeting agenda. Recognize Commissioner Cole on item number 1.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. This resolution is to appoint Steve Hatfield to the Work Release Commission. Former Commissioner Harry Knowles, he retired July 1st, so this would be to fill his spot. We have 3 members. We have to have 3 members on the Work Release Commission, and we already have Cindy Adams and Dennis Norton, so Steve Hatfield, if appointed, would make the 3rd. So I appreciate a positive vote in this, and I think we can have this on the consent, can't we? No objections, I put it on consent.
You've heard the explanation. Sponsor moves consent calendar. Is there any objection to item number 1 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number. Commissioner King.
No objection. Let's explain what this position does, or what this commission does. I'm not familiar with exactly what all they do.
So the Work Release Commission, we have 3, and 3 usually break up into different areas of the county, so they'll take over second area like Kingsport, Bank Lights, and Bristol. And people who want to look at work. So what happens is, you've got somebody, let's say they work construction, or you have a teacher, or sometimes we've had attorneys, that get DUIs, or maybe a theft charge, and they have a job. So the judge agrees to let them work and to turn themselves in. So they turn themselves into the Sullivan County, they meet with the commission, they get asked a series of questions where they work, they have to provide proof of employment schedule, they have to pass a drug test. So even though they're incarcerated and they stay in our facility, they get to go out for work every morning. And the work release commissioners monitor those people to make sure that they're where they're supposed to be.
Could this be like a bus going out picking up trash? I mean, is that something that they would do, or?
No, if that's what they did, if they were a trash worker for waste management, we would go waste management and follow them to do that,
So-
if that's what you're asking.
Okay, so it has to be pertaining to their job, what they
Yes,
do.
pertaining to what they do, yes, their
Okay.
profession. Yes.
Okay, so if there's nothing available, then what do they do?
Yeah. If they don't have a job and they can't provide, you're talking about the person that was arrested and that's been sentenced, right?
Right.
If they don't have a job or they can't provide employment, they just get incarcerated. If I understand your question.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that if there's not, you know, or even if they have a job and then there's not a place for them to go to work at that job or whatever, then what is it?
No, they have to have employment, currently employed at whatever,
Right.
wherever they work, McDonald's, say for instance.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm done.
Commissioner Ward.
Okay, to add a little bit to that. This commission is very important. They review that inmate. I think if you look at the news this week, that won't happen here. So I personally know all three of those, and adding Steve, you've got three that's gonna go through it like a fine-tooth comb, so that mistake's not made in Sullivan County. Work release, you have to have a job to be on work release. So if you get in trouble and you have a job, that judge is gonna say, all right, I'll let you go to work during the day, and you're gonna stay in the jail at night, so he don't lose his job. You're talking about road crews, and that's just totally different.
Okay, that's what
Yeah,
I
totally
I
different.
didn't know.
But it's very important that we have solid people on this commission, so that mistake's not made, that what happened to a neighboring county. And I don't think it will with the three that we have on there. That's three hand-picked people for a reason.
And to add to that, Steve Hatfield is a retired lieutenant from the sheriff's office. Dennis Lawrence, a retired lieutenant from the sheriff's office, he's bailiff. And Cindy Adams worked for Kingsport Police Department for a little bit, and she retired as a detective from Sullivan County. So they have experience and the knowledge.
Commissioner Aker, then Commissioner Glover.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. I was kind of with Dwight, I started to ask, I've been here 6 years, never even heard of it. Now I think that's a really good thing that I haven't heard of it, and obviously they're doing the right job. And it's the right people, as Travis said, so, good thing.
Commissioner Glover.
Michael, I think this goes back to years ago when a fellow named Joe Munster was working over there with a bunch of work release people like that. Do these guys still draw salary?
They do. It's $25 a meeting, and then it's based on knowledge, how far they have to travel. So,
And how many people they've got?
yes.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Gold, you moved consent calendar.
Yes, if everybody's still in agreement.
Sponsor moves consent calendar on item number one. Any objection to item number one being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number one is placed on consent calendar. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Aker on item number two.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a resolution that, we got an email from Amber about, and of course, I'm gonna have to get on her a little bit for having to make some changes to it, make it look bad and everything, but no, seriously. This is something we have to do. We just did it. It was approved on Tuesday night in Bristol after planning did it, and that's why it's a little bit of a rush for first reading and waiver of rules for next Thursday, so we can get it done by the end of the month. It is just updating the federal flood maps. If anybody is really drowsy and can't go to sleep, I highly recommend you pull it out and read it. But other than that, I'm gonna leave it up to Amber. Yeah, when we have the full thing next week, and Amber will be here, you know, she had a funeral she had to be at tonight. If anybody truly does have any questions and everything, like the Bristol part of it just changed barely on a couple things. And so they do that, and we'll have waiver rules for next Thursday to make it official and everything. Thank you.
Recognize Commissioner King.
Again, we just got this 15 minutes ago, and then he came up here and he said that there was some changes in wording. You know, I didn't expect us to vote on this stuff. You know, what? It at least need to be pointed out what we're changing or what we're going to vote on to change.
Commissioner Aker, do you wish to address the question of your resolution?
What's wrong? Huh?
Anyone seek, well, let me rephrase my question. Anyone seek recognition on the resolution? Without objection, sponsor moves waiver of rules on item number 2. I seen that coming up here. Okay. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Jones on item number 3.
This was an item that came before the Delinquent Tax Property Committee. It's been sitting, it's a pretty small amount, piece of property. And we did have a offer on it. We voted to accept it, bring it to the full commission. I would put it on consent. If there's any objection, not any.
You've heard the explanation. Anyone have any questions for sponsor on item number 3? Commissioner Jones, what's your desire about number 3, sir? Consent. Sponsor moves consent calendar on item number 3. Anyone object to item number 3 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 3 is placed on consent calendar. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Vanover on item number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Item 4 is a resolution to recognize the remaining fiscal year 2024 summer learning camps grant funds of $930,000 and place those in the fiscal year 25 general purpose budget. There was these grants of a total of $983,000. 53 has been spent. There's a remaining of $930,000 left, and that wants to be rolled over. The school system was asked to roll it over into next year's budget. If you look at your resolution, there's a chart there. The top 3 lines are the revenue codes of where the grants came from. The other lines are the expenditures of how that money will be spent out. And those numbers should add up to the $930,000. There's no matching funds, and if there's no objections, I'd like to ask to be placed on the consent calendar.
You've heard the explanation on item number 4. Sponsor moves consent calendar for item number 4. Any objection to item number 4 being placed on consent calendar? Get your button, sir. Recognize Commissioner Iverson on item number 4.
Not really an objection, but a question. So, and I'm sorry because this was shown to me a while ago, I'm sorry for coming on, but isn't this an amendment to the budget we hadn't approved?
I imagine it would be, yes.
So is it going to be something they change, or is it going to be an amendment that's, I mean, I don't see how we can vote on an amendment to a budget that we haven't approved yet. It seems like this would have to come later.
I don't think it would be contingent on the school budget being passed. And we can pull it off the consent calendar, talk about it again next week if you're ready.
It's just more of a procedural thing. I'm just trying to figure out how we can approve an amendment to a budget that hasn't been approved.
I think it's still just contingent on the school budget being passed. It doesn't say that, like you say, it doesn't say that, but we can change the resolution to reflect that if you like. It'd probably be wise, so if there's no objection, I'd like to maybe pull it off the consent, or ask for it to be pulled off consent on the first reading. That'd be okay. Let's do that, let's ask for first reading, and we'll get some clarification next week.
I'm gonna recognize, Mr. Bailey, and I'm gonna recognize Commissioner Glover.
In the case of grants, this is a normal thing because they normally don't know exactly how much they're gonna get spent. When they're making the budget up back in April and May, they cannot project the exact amount. Now, there is money left, this is common on a lot of grants. And so if you don't get it in the budget document early, and you don't know how much it's gonna be, you need to go ahead and place an amendment so that it will get, and when this passes, and most likely when we put the budget together, finally, at the very end, after all passages, this will be added into it. We do this often. It's a little confusing, but.
Mr. Bailey's comments, I would like to ask for it to be put back on consent.
First, I'm gonna recognize Commissioner Glover on item number 4.
The question I've got on this is if you look at the first page there, personnel, 469, 128. Personnel, 24,800. Then you flip over to the next page, personnel, 18,000. Personnel, 54,715. Personnel, 2,075. Personnel, 13,200. That's a lot of personnel.
It's all grant money, so I assume they can do what they want to with it. That's all I know.
Well, I do want this recognized in the budget when we get to that point where we make sure that it does come in the right place.
So you like an amendment to this?
Well, I mean, if, like Larry says, if it's gonna be separate in the budget for us to make sure that it's in the right place for the passage of the budget.
Do you feel like it would be, Mr. Bailey?
Yes, we can follow grants like this often because you can't project how much is going to be left until you get to June 30th, and they've projected these amounts, and go ahead and spend the money now. This is where we get it in there, and we then pull it into the final budget after approval.
Okay.
It's very routine from our standpoint, we do it. We just don't have a lot of grants, but it does happen.
Okay. Do you have any objection to putting it on the consent calendar?
I don't have no objection. If I do, I'll just knock it back off next week.
Sounds like a plan.
Commissioner Aker.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. Kind of follow up on Commissioner Glover, I think we probably have the same kind of curiosity. That's $930,000 of grant money that, I can't do the quick math, but I'm gonna say 85% of it's going to personnel. And then, you know, we're sitting on a budget that they're gonna use $6.5 million out of their budget for personnel. So those are kind of some, I mean, using grant money for personnel and fund balance, I mean, that's what, I mean, they're gonna have to think about that in the future, and I think that's just kind of an interesting way to fund some personnel, but I don't know if that money's gonna be there the following year, you know, and everything, so, thank you.
Commissioner Vanover.
I think there's some good points. I think Commissioner Glover and Commissioner Aker made some good points, so I would feel better to maybe bring it off the consent calendar and just put it on first reading.
You've heard the explanation. Sponsor moves item number 4 to our regular calendar next week. That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. Next order is announcements. Anyone have any Commissioner Jones, anyone have any announcements?
We, this morning, lost he's a good friend of mine, and David knew him. Bill DeBus was a lot of people knew Bill. He was a funeral director for Hamlet Dobson, had a stroke and passed away this morning. The services are Monday at downtown Hamlet Dobson from 5 to 7 at this station. He touched a lot of families over the years. He was currently in charge of the Fall Branch facility for Hamlet Dogs. So he had a son who's really struggling, a young son, struggling with losing his dad. So keep them in your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Akers.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam, for telling everybody about that. Bill is a good friend and been around forever. I just want to remind everybody, early voting starts tomorrow. Get out and vote. None of us would be here without votes. So remember that. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Vanover.
I'd like to remind everyone, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, there's going to be a tour of Domtar down in Kingsport. I think John or Misty wants to send out an invitation, but there's still spots open. If anyone would like to come, just be there at the guardhouse at Domtar at 10 o'clock in the morning. Thanks, sir.
Commissioner Jones.
Our jail committee toured the jail this past week, and we want to encourage all the commissioners. I think we're going to have an opportunity for everyone to go, maybe a couple dates presented, that you really need to see what's been completed over there, and some potential may come back that we can address this. But for those that went, I think if you ask any of us, it was an eye-opening to see what we voted on and what we're funding, and the taxpayers of the county. And it's a whole lot bigger when you get inside than what it looks when you walk up to it. I'm telling you, it's a big facility. So, thank you.
Commissioner Glover.
Can anyone tell me who's on this jail transition committee? Okay.
Everybody raise your hand, that's the.
So that's the whole jail, okay.
Wally's on it.
Is there gonna be minutes available for these meetings for the commissioners? It's not. Who keeps the minutes for this committee?
We haven't met. We just met at the jail. That's the first time.
Well, we met one
No, we met once before.
Yeah, they've been 2 meetings. I just wondered, I didn't even know we had one. When did this happen? Can somebody tell me that? So we as a commission didn't vote to form a jail transition committee, so we just now have one. I'm just asking.
Mr. Chairman.
I want to recognize Commissioner Akers, and I'll come back to you.
No, I'll let this go mine, this conversation's not.
You'll press your button.
I believe it's technically classified as a jail transition committee.
That's what I asked.
Yeah, and it's more aimed at transitioning from the old jail to the new jail. I know that the sheriff had asked me if I would like to be on it, and I said, sure, I'll help out any way that I can. We're not passing any resolution, we're not making any law. I think it was basically community outreach from the sheriff's office to county commission and other members of the
So
public.
recommendations from the jail transition committee, anything is gonna come back to the county commission and we'll have to support
I
that
think,
decision?
well, I don't think we're making any recommendations. I don't think we're passing any resolutions. We're not doing anything like that. I think it's more of a public relations board. He's just telling us what's going on. Here's the first phase, here's the second phase, here's the third phase. And this is how we're coming along. Here's the improvements and stuff.
We got a building committee intact. I just wondered,
I'd be happy to talk to the sheriff about that and see.
We have minutes available from the building committee anytime anybody wants those. And
Yeah, well, we can facilitate that, I'm sure, somehow.
Thank you.
Commissioner Akers, then Commissioner Vanover.
Thank you, Chairman. I was going to kind of make something funny off of what Sam was talking about. To go tour the jail, make sure you do that in the official capacity of a commissioner and not a client.
Commissioner Vanover.
I'm just trying to clarify some of the questions that Herschel asked. It's an ad hoc committee, the mayor formed it, And I'll nominate Commissioner King to be the secretary and take minutes.
Decline. Decline.
That should be.
I'll recognize you here in a minute, go out, you're next on the list.
That's it.
Commissioner King.
This committee was formed for informational more than anything. And the mayor is the one that done it, and the sheriff also. Between the mayor and the sheriff, they were the one that came up with it. And what the whole purpose of it is to get a group of commissioners, what's going on over there? What are they doing? Where are we at? All that. And then at some point in time, we're gonna have to start figuring out how much money we're gonna have to go from the old jail to the new jail and what it's gonna take. And that's what we've talked about. There's never been anything that, has been budgeted on, nothing has, but, it's more of informational, and looking at the jail, if you don't know what the jail looks like and you don't know how the jail operates, if you don't know anything about the jail, how you gonna make recommendations of how many people's going to be in there, how many people's is it gonna take? So if you don't know about this stuff, then how you gonna make good recommendations but I guess where I'm coming from, if the whole 24 members of this body needs to go over there, then that's what we need to do, if that's what we're, and that way everybody's up front, everybody knows what's going on, and then we can make well-informed decisions. But this, as far as this committee is right now, we haven't done anything except look and talk. And I've learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know about the jail, and but there again, who made the decision to do it was the mayor and the sheriff. So if you've got any questions, those are the two that you need to go talk to, and they're the one that made the decision to do it.
Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Commissioner King. I would say the same thing. I also wanted to ask, is there anybody in here, any commissioner, that has not toured the existing jail? So I just encourage anyone that has not toured the existing jail, even recently, you need to do that, and as well as the new building. And it is because you need to understand exactly where we are and where we're going. And as Commissioner King said, we've got a big decision to make as far as the personnel that are going to be operating this and the cost of that. And so you need to understand how it's laid out and why it's laid out and all of those details. So just encourage everyone as we've heard to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Glover.
That's the example that I'm making. The taxpayers of Sullivan County's got $97 million tied up over there. We've not had one report since the first block was laid. We've not been told how much money's been spent so far. We've not been told anything that's going on over there. And I've asked numerous times. I've asked for change orders. I've asked how much money's on hand, how much we got left. But a minute ago, it was just an informational committee, and now we're deciding about how many employees we're going to have and so forth. So that's the question I've got. There's 24 people in here, and all 24 people have to vote. And there's a lot of money over there. So that's the point I'm making. I didn't even have an idea there was a jail transition committee. I saw it on the calendar. I mean, should have been asked around. Maybe some other people in here might have wanted to serve on it. Maybe all 24 of us wanted to go over at one time. Wouldn't that have been amazing? All of us on the same page for one time, all 24 of us. Wow. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner McMurray.
I think Commissioner Glover makes a good point. Everybody needs to know. And I think that was the aim of this committee. I don't know. I didn't start this committee. It wasn't my idea. But I think that was the aim of this committee, and I think it's a good point. And it's probably, some of the members, I'll take responsibility. I haven't communicated the information that I got. I didn't know it was that we had all these different stages in transition. There's one stage that they're gonna build, and it's gonna hold so many cells, and then there's another stage that I think it's actually 4 different phases that they're actually gonna build this jail. And we need it. I can tell you right now, we really need it. We've got a problem on our hands right now. I'm a defense attorney, and if anybody is a client of the jail, you can call me anytime you want. But I'll say this, we have a problem in the number of cells that we've got in Sullivan County, and we don't want that to be a bigger issue than just overcrowding.
Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you. Hey, Commissioner Glover, we just made a mention earlier that we wanted all 24 commissioners to go over to the jail and visit it, just like the committee or the people that went. So I just wanted to remind you, you're welcome to go.
Oh, I've been in the old one.
And motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to thank everybody. My dad had a stay in the hospital last week. We were kind of worried about him for a few days, and had a lot of folks reach out to me, call me, and we felt the prayers. We really do appreciate everybody that checked on us. A lot of it came out of this room. We are a family. It's very obvious. This is Thanksgiving every couple of Thursdays, just like the Thanksgiving table. We talk about everything, don't we? So entertain a motion.
Motion.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Stand adjourned till Thursday, July 18th.
Hey, you want to help me out on that? I'll call her. She's going to call me.
Hey, what? You all right? I can't speak at things like that. Hey, Sam, just have a good shot. What's your wife ever?
Oh, I know exactly what you got.